So guys, this is what we're making today. The Darling Wallet by PursesbyHolly. Look at this. Turn it around, you have a little zipper pocket. And then you open it up and you have Kansas City Chiefs. Got a slip pocket and credit card slots here. You have a divider that has 8 credit card slots. Then you have a little slip pocket and an ID window. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 12 card slots plus the ID window. I mean, look at that. It is so cute. This is cork. This is red cork. It's very cute. Go get the pattern. Let's get started. Hi everyone, this is Barbie with Jeannie's Designs. I'm getting ready to do a custom order. It is the Darling Wallet by PursesbyHolly. It is a small version of her Architect wallet. And I'm going to be doing it out of red cork. Not sure what that is. Red cork and, ready? Chiefs fabric. Oops, I need to iron that a little more. It is going to be so cute. So it really calls for non-frame fabric, but I think I can get away with this cotton fabric. It's a little heavier duty, and I'm using some waterproof canvas for some of the pockets. And so I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. If this turns out the way I think it's gonna turn out, I'm gonna make myself one too. I'm a big Chiefs fan, you know, and so is this person. I didn't ask her if it was okay if I said her name, so I better not, you know. I try and respect people's privacy. All right, let's get started. Okay, let me get all these pieces out of here. Can't see my pieces. So there is a little bit of prep work. So on your main piece, which for me is red cork, I marked on all 4 sides, and then I added a double-sided tape. Okay. And actually, I'm going to add a little bit more double-sided tape for my zipper. Just on either side of my zipper pocket opening. Okay. And then you have 2 pieces that are kind of, they're, what do I want to say? They're facings or, hold on. Okay, let me get this turned so it's not bright in your face. All right, so the outside I'm going to use red cork. Do all the prep. So there's a little bit of prep. Mark your seams on each side and put double-sided tape. And I put double-sided tape in my zipper opening as well. Then you have 2 pieces of binding, and you need to mark a line down the middle and add 2 pieces of double-sided tape there. I have my zipper. It's a tiny, tiny little guy. And then I have my ID window, which I marked down and then put some double-sided tape where my ID clear plastic is going to go. And then you have a whole bunch of credit card slots. So on all of these, we're going to fold this down, and I just use double-sided tape. I've done it with double-sided tape and just folding them down. Today I decided to use double-sided tape. So let's get started. Let's do our ID window. So I'm going to take off the double-sided tape. You guys, I'm being Gladys from Bewitched today. The nosy neighbor. I mean, right in front of me, out my window, I can see that the house across the street is for sale. And they're having an open house. So I can see comings and goings. I'm not really trying to be nosy. I just can't help myself. Okay. I'm using red Text 35 Touch 45. And now we're gonna sew around the outside of our ID window. And I am gonna pull these threads to the back. So I just pulled my needle up a little bit so it catches my corner. You do not want, I'm gonna go down one more little bit. You do not want you missing a thread. So if you bring your needle up a little bit, you don't miss not a thread, you don't miss a stitch on the corner, which, you know, can be very annoying. Oops, except it just did it. There we go. I'm not having that. No, I'm not having it. This red cork and red thread. Oh, it did it again. That's weird. Hold on, guys. There we go. All right. You do use a fair amount of double-sided tape here, so you're going to have to really pay attention to your corners so you don't miss any corners. Oh, that worked out perfect. Okay, good. It's a little more tedious, but it's worth it in the end. All right, let's tie this off. My needle is not sticky that I can see, but I'm going to put some sewer's aid on there. There you go. Perfect. If you're not familiar with sewer's aid, it is just something that helps keep your needle from getting gummy. I think it really works. Some people just use some machine oil, but I think this works, or alcohol. This works fine for me. All right, now I've got it on me. Now on this top part, we're gonna fold this down to create a non-raw edge. So just right there on the top. And we're just gonna fold that down by just a little bit, just what she tells you to in the pattern. And we're gonna stitch across that. And I did back stitch there. Perfect. Just burning my little ends. There we go. All right, perfect. Next out. Okay, so the credit card slots, you should have 3 rectangles, and then you should have 9 of these. So I am going to do this on fast forward because it's extremely tedious. I am just folding these down by what she tells you to in the pattern, and then we're going to top stitch across those on all of those oblong and the odd shaped ones. Okay, so I'm going to fold them all down, and then I'm going to just do some chain stitching. All right, now that we did all our card slots, we're going to take our zipper pocket lining and take your zipper and lay it right side up and your lining piece right side up, and we're just going to baste that in place. Fabricator does not like the light fabrics. Now I'm going to fold that over and just top stitch that nice and flat, just like I do all my zippers. My zipper pockets, to get it nice and flat. You could use double sided tape, or you could just iron it. Okay, so just like that. Now we're going to repeat that process on this side. I'm just trying to find my right side of my fabric. And top stitch that nice and flat. Okay. Some people might say that's just an extra step, but for me, it is so worth it. It really makes a difference. So now you have a nice flat zipper. Burn those edges a little. Okay. All right. Now, since I already have it together, let me just look at my, I haven't made this in quite a while. Yeah. Take your outside piece, and I already put double-sided tape here. I'm just going to take the top one off. And I want my zipper closing to the left. So I'm just going to get that nice and even in there. And then I'll take the bottom off. And actually, I need a little more room there. Just get it as nice and even as you can. There we go. So now we're going to stitch just across the bottom, and if you know, I don't know if you can see it, but you see the 4 dots? That way I know where to start and stop my stitches, so it's nice and even. But for this one, we're just going to sew across the bottom, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to pull these to the back too. So I started in that first dot, and I'm going to end in this dot. Oh dear. That's not good. I caught my lining. Don't do what I just did. Bummer. Okay. Yeah, I think. Yeah. So I'm just going to take that out and redo it. I can get in the same hole, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, darn it. It happens. Let's try that again. Where's my lining? Okay, it's out of the way now. All right, here we go. It happens. Let me see where I am. One more. Perfect. All right, let's pull these to the back and tie those off. You don't have to tie these off if you don't want to. You could just back stitch. And it would look just as fine because I'm using red on red. So it would be perfect really. So I'm just doing a little extra step here. Burn those. Perfect. Now we're going to bring our top lining down and we're going to clip that together. And we're going to sew up and across and down, starting in those holes and where our stitches stopped. Love it. I'm going to pull those threads to the back as well. One more tiny stitch. Yeah. Okay. Jackie, did you want something, sweet girl? Come here. You're very needy lately, poor dog. Yeah, say hi. Hi, Jack. Hi, sweet girl. Yeah, do you need to go potty? She may need to go potty. Hold on. Okay, so I have sewn around my box and it looks perfect. And because I used my leather marker to do my corners, I'm just going to get those marks off of there. You really can't see them. But that makes a big difference. So now you can see what we have in the back. You can see the top and the sides. So I'm going to sew down the end all the way around. There is a little excess and we'll just cut that off. I'm being very careful not to put my finger under there. There we go. Okay. Sew down the side. And I'm going to cut this off because I did it from the other side. Let's just cut it off. There we go. It's not a big pocket, but it's just big enough for a few coins, key, that type of thing. Perfect. Now, if you have excess, I highly suggest that you trim it because you do not want that in your seam when you go to close it up. So trim it as much as you can and give yourself a little bit of grace there. So just a little bit right there. That's it. Okay, so there's our pocket. So now you have a fully lined pocket. Cute as a bug in a rug. So I'm taking one of my slip pockets, and this is the cotton. It's a pretty heavy cotton, and I just added my ID window to the bottom, lining up the bottom, and we're gonna sew around, just baste around the sides and the bottom. 1/8 of an inch. Now, the other thing she does mention, and I think it's a good idea, I was looking for my ruler, is when you have an ID, you don't want your ID to go to the bottom. Let me get a card here. You don't want your ID to go all the way down. You want it to be about right there. If I don't do what I'm talking about, it goes all the way down like that. So we're gonna make another line of stitches up from the bottom, and I don't do it quite as much. Well, I think I will. I'll just do it as right there. She gives you this suggestion in the pattern. I would highly recommend you do it. And I just went over my previous stitching that was there. You can't even tell that it's there. But now see the difference? That's as far as it goes down, and that's where you want it. So you do want to do that. And she gives you the measurement. I just did over my previous stitching that was on the bottom of the ID window. Now we're gonna fold this down. Wrong sides together. And we're going to stitch across that top. I'm a little worried how it's going to look with my machine here, because it's just 2 layers of cotton. Oh, it did pretty good. Okay. Pretty good. Actually, not bad at all. So I just stitched across there. And I'm just going to clean that up a little bit because, you know, these industrial machines, they do not like cotton. And it did okay. I'm just having to do a little cleanup. And that's all right. There we go. Perfect. So this is what you have on your ID window. Isn't that cute? Yeah. Take this other piece H and measure up 3 lines from the bottom. You can barely see them. I use my air erasing pen. And on the top line, lay one of your credit card slots there, and we're gonna stitch across the bottom. At just what she tells you to in the pattern. Oops. And then you're going to lay another one on the next line. Very smart how she does this. And stitch across the bottom. And then you're going to use one of your square pieces and then use your last one on the last line. I almost messed up, guys. And so across that one on the bottom. Then use one of your oblong rectangles, not square. And lay that on the bottom. So you have 4 card slots here. And they all should be pretty even. I'm gonna test these real quick before I go any further. So one, I have my my clips there, so you can't really tell, and that's perfect. I'm gonna leave that out, and we are going to, I am just gonna baste them all in place down the side at 1/8 of an inch. Just so they don't move. You don't want them moving on you. Okay, so that's, now let's test them. So 1, 2, 3, and there's, I didn't do the bottom one. That's perfect. Perfect. All right, now we're gonna fold that wrong sides together, and again, we're gonna top stitch across the top. I'm gonna go really slow because this machine does not like cotton, so really slow. You notice that's really slow for me. Okay. Cute, cute. Now when you open that, you can see the KC. I love it. And when you look down into the pocket, you can see Chiefs. Perfect. So take your credit card slot and your lining piece, measure up from the bottom, what she tells you to in the pattern, and make a mark. Then we're gonna lay this that we just created right on top of that line and clip that in place. So it's just like that. Look at that, Chiefs, it's perfect. It's perfect there. Now we're gonna stitch the sides and the bottom. Sorry, I was reading as I was doing this, so. And then across the bottom. And back up the side. Don't sew across the top for obvious reasons. And so that is why you do not, when you make this card slot piece, you don't sew across the bottom, because we just did it. And you don't want an extra row of stitches there. Okay. Ooh, that was hot. Oh my gosh, it's on fire. That'll be fine. It'll be hidden, but wow. Scary. Okay. So that's what you have. You have a slip pocket, and then you have all your credit card slots. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, next step. So make another line from the bottom up, what she tells you to in the pattern, and then we're gonna lay another one of these the distance from that line. Okay, I know it's hard to see. So I measured up from the bottom, and here's my line, and then right a certain distance, what she tells you to in the pattern, from that line, lay one of those card slots and stitch across the bottom. These stitches won't be seen, so don't worry about back stitching. And then we're going to add another one. This distance from the top of this one, and sew across the bottom. And one more. And sew across the bottom. Okay, so now add one of your, I think it's D pieces. And we're just gonna stitch on the sides, not the bottom. Okay. And down this other side. Perfect. All right, now it feels weird because we just have card slots up here and card slots down here. So the next step, let's get it going. So take your card slots, and with the card slots facing the top here is towards you, from this line above here that we created these slots, we're gonna repeat that with these last 4 slots. So measure down what she tells you to in the pattern, and we're gonna add those. I know it feels weird, but it works perfectly. Okay, so we're gonna add that one, and we're gonna stitch across the bottom. This is a great little wallet. They fit in a lot of the small crossbodies today, which is very nice. Okay, now we're gonna repeat that here. It feels like they're upside down. They won't be in the end. One more of these. Just make sure they're nice and even from each other. And then we're going to add the oblong piece. Again, I don't believe we do the bottom. Let's just do the sides. I didn't quite catch that. Hold on. There we go. All these stitches on the sides will be hidden, so don't worry too much about those. And let's do this other side. So that's what you have. You have a slip pocket, 4 credit card slots, and then it looks like these are upside down. You have 4 credit card slots, and you have 4 credit card slots here. Now we're going to take our ID window, and we're going to add it right on the bottom here. And base that in place. Let me just check. Yep. Yep. And just base down the 2 sides and the bottom. Not the top, obviously. So now you have all of your pieces attached to your lining piece. Love it. Next, so now we're going, this piece becomes the piece that moves. So at that mark that is about 7 7/8 up, we're gonna top stitch there, and then we're gonna top stitch on the bottom of these card slots. Okay. So I'm going to do this top part first. And then I'm going to stitch here. And that should catch the other side as well. That's why we don't do the bottom of those card slots. I know it feels weird, and it did. So there's that, caught that, and it caught it here. So now what you have is you have this set of card slots, this set of card slots, and they're all going in the correct direction. Love. And then you have your ID window. Perfect. Next step. So on this piece that kind of stands up is where you're going to use your binding pieces. So take your tape off And we're gonna add that right pretty close to our middle line. Not all the way, because you want to be able to fold it over. So just like that. And we'll repeat that on this other side. It just covers any raw edges, which is really kind of nice, honestly. Same thing on this side. I'm sticking to my tape. And fold that over, and now we're gonna stitch do 2 rows of stitching down those sides. And I always stitch, there's one side that's probably a little skinnier than the other, so I always stitch from that side just so I'm sure I catch everything. Okay. Okay, and let's do one more row. Depending on what you use for your card slots, it'll be a little bit thick. I've used all cork, so it is just a little bit thick. So I'm just going slow. One more. Holly, I love this pattern. Love this pattern. I'm probably gonna make one of these cheese ones for myself. Okay. Perfect. Now, the reason that we do this is because this part of the pattern is not caught when we put the lining in. So you wanted to have those little pieces of binding. Uh-oh. I'm all out of juice. Let me get another click. So before I go any further, on my outside piece, I am going to lift up my pocket and I'm going to add my name tag on the back. And I'm about 3/4 of an inch down from my zipper. You can put it on the front tab, you can put it on this bottom piece. This is just where I prefer to put it. Just make sure that your lining pocket for your zipper is out of your way. You don't want that in your way. Be a bit of noise. I will add just a little piece of fleece so that doesn't rub on my zipper pocket. Or you can do a piece of double-sided tape. You can do another piece of Decaville, whatever it works for you. I just have tons of these tiny little scraps that, oh, this is really coming off in pieces. There we go. Just to cover that up. All right, so there you have your name tag. Isn't that cute? Oh, I just love it. Okay, then measure up with this outside piece, measure up from the bottom exactly where she tells you, and we're gonna add our part of our magnetic snap. Now I'm using rivet magnetic snaps. So this one, I don't care that you won't see the rivet part. And I am adding a piece of Decaville there as well. But this one, we're gonna add the male half of our snap. So put that on the front, put your piece of stabilizer, whatever you choose to use if you choose to, and then I'm gonna go snap that. So when I go like this, there's my snap and it'll come back down and match. So now take your exterior piece and your lining piece, hold your middle piece up, and we are going to, and I'm gonna just dry fit it here just to make sure that I like what I'm seeing. And sometimes you have to trim it a little. I am gonna trim this side just a hair. So you can see what I trimmed it, not much. Let me see, how about down here? Yeah, I'm gonna trim that just a little. You wanna have plenty of fold over for your oh yeah, 100% better. So what I'm trying to do is stay within these lines that we created when we first did this, okay? Now I am gonna just put some double-sided tape down here. You can glue it or use tape. I'm just gonna use tape. I've talked about why I don't use glue because I'm a third grader when it comes to glue. Okay, so I'm gonna start down here and I'm gonna get this in between my lines pretty good and just get that adhered, and then I'm gonna come up here and do the same. Now this one is too wide as well. There we go. And And then just make sure your little zipper pocket is nice and flat. Perfect. Okay. So the next thing you do, hold your middle up and just where it meets here, do a little snip. Don't go past the line you drew on both sides, okay? Just one little snip. And I did mine about, the line is a 1/2 inch, so I did mine about just a hair more than 1/4. And now we're gonna start at the bottom. Taking off the tape, and we're gonna fold that up. Now, if for some reason your tape isn't holding, just put a few clips there. Now, where that snip is, we're going to fold that over on each side. I probably don't need to clip it, but I'm going to, just because I'm taking a little longer than I normally would because I'm chatting. And then do the same thing on the other side. And I've got a little cork hair there. Get rid of that. Okay. And then we're just going to work our way up. So let's do this other side. And if your cork, if you're using cork, has a little phrase on it, go ahead and get those off before you fold it over. It's very minimal. Now fold this one over. And most of this I used my scan and cut to cut it out, except for obviously the cotton. I cut that out by hand. And then do the upper side. Now I'm using a rivet magnetic snap. If you're not using a rivet, you would have already installed your magnetic snap on the top, just FYI, or you could do it right now. But because I'm using a rivet, I can just go right through both layers. Although, you know what I'm gonna do? Hold on. I am gonna, right now, before I finish this top, gonna add a little piece of stabilizer there where the other part of my magnetic snap is gonna go. And I just put a little piece of double-sided tape on the back. But if you're using the prong magnetic snap, go ahead and put those in now. There we go. Cute as a bug in a rug. Okay. Now we are going to do 2 rows of stitches. And we're going to do this part first, and then we'll do this part separately. Okay? It's just easier because you've got this freestanding part of your wallet. So I think for me, I'm gonna do it from the inside. Get my clip out of the way. And I'm gonna do the inside first. And I'm going to back stitch. So I'm doing the inside stitches first. 1/8 inch from the edge, the raw edge. Okay, it's a beautiful thing. Okay, so that's what I have. I did the stitching just close to the inside raw edge, and that's what it looks like on the back. Now I am going to go ahead and do another row of stitches just on the outside there as well. 1/8 inch from the outside. I would say that the second stitch is probably optional, but you know, these little wallets get a fair amount of use. So I probably wouldn't skip it. Plus it looks good. Okay, I'll show you what it looks like. I'm getting all things caught on my scissors. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Do you see the 2 rows of stitches there and the 2 rows of stitches there? It's perfect in every way. Now we're going to repeat that on the top. And just go slow. It's kind of thick in parts, so just take your time. One more. Now this second row, I'm going to do from the outside. So I am sure that I'm getting it nice and symmetrical, if you know what I mean. So that's what you have. It's just perfect. Okay. All right, now let's do the second row of stitches. Okay, actually I might just leave that 1 row. No, I'm gonna do 2. I'm gonna do it from this side though. perfect. Oh my gosh. All right, so now I want to put the other part of my snap. And I'm just looking to make sure that it's symmetrical. It's right there. Let's just make sure again. Hold on. Yep. Okay. So I can tell that it's right where my stabilizer is. And there's my snip. Okay, so right there is perfect. Let me go snap it and then we'll be done. Here it is. Isn't that cute? You have a little, I got a little off here, but that's okay, it's handmade. A little zipper pocket here, which is actually pretty roomy. And then you open it up and you see the Kansas City Chiefs. Got a slip pocket here, 4 credit card slots. And then you have your little divider that has 4 credit card slots on that side and 4 on this side. And then down here you have a slip pocket and your ID window. I mean, it's perfect. Now these credit card slots are pretty snug, so they're not gonna fall out. So I have that one right there. It's not gonna fall out. They're not tight, but they're not gonna fall out. Oh my gosh. Kansas City Chiefs. And look at that. I couldn't have planned that any better. Chiefs, and then Chiefs. And then if you open your little zipper pocket, it's just plain red. But if you open, here's your slip pocket, you see KC. Very slim. Look how slim it is. No raw edges. I will say it is best to use all non-frame fabric. This cotton is fine, but if I didn't want to use the Chiefs, then I would have used a waterproof canvas or a water-resistant canvas instead. But this is heavier weight cotton, so it's actually okay. It's kind of like between a quilting cotton and a cotton canvas, so it's not thin. So cute. Just very, very cute. The Darling Wallet, it's Darling. The Darling Wallet by PursesbyHolly. Go get the pattern and I would make some. These are great little gifts too. So this is for a custom order for one of my subscribers, her daughter, who is a Kansas City Chiefs fan. So I hope she enjoys. Thanks.